Back on SportsLine, we'll talk some Titans now. They wrapped up minicamp, of course, last week. The major story of the week, Jeffrey Simmons showing up but not on the practice field. And what does that mean? You heard last week on the program from Mike Vrabel and Jeffrey Simmons, and I'm not sure you learned a whole lot from what they had to say. It was very kind of vague and confusing. Is he upset about his contract? Was this, in essence, kind of a holdout or a hold-in at the facility that he wasn't going to be on the field? Is there something else going on? It was difficult to ascertain exactly what the situation is. We'll take Jeffrey at his word that he's going to be on the field when training camp comes around at the end of next month. And we'll take Mike Vrabel at his word that all this stuff that's been very loud and noisy in the offseason isn't going to mean much when they have to get on the field and go through training camp and the preseason and then get into regular season games. And Mike Vrabel's track record here is pretty darn good at running a winning culture first and foremost and then winning games on the field. And so he gets the benefit of the doubt when he says that. But it is undeniable that it has been a noisy offseason capped off by the bizarre conversations from Simmons and Vrabel about his situation last week. And John Burton talked with Jonathan Hutton about that on Sunday Sports Central.
We bring in our Titans insider, the host of Outkick 360, Jonathan Hutton. Jay Hutt, it was hard to know what to make of the comments from the Titans about Jeffrey Simmons. He's healthy, he's under contract, and he says he plans to be there for training camp. So have people made too much of this, or should there be some concern that he wasn't out there on the field last week?
No concern for me yet, John. This is a ricochet effect from the Aaron Donald contract, whether they want to say this or not, because Donald is now getting paid $30 million a year from the Rams. Jeffrey Simmons is not Aaron Donald. He's not going to make Donald money, but he is next in line at the position, even if this is a year and a year early than when maybe it should happen based on his contract. The Titans have the leverage. They have control of his contract if they want for 4 more seasons. That includes the franchise tags. But any extension right now would be really team-friendly long-term. And Simmons not practicing this week is no harm, no foul. He's the most consistent player on their entire roster coming off of last year's performances. If he repeats what he did, the price tag is only going to go up for Jeffrey Simmons, and he will reset the market for his position outside of Aaron Donald.
Yeah, the bag is certainly coming for Big Jeff. All right, this is the latest saga in what's been a noisy offseason that's seen a lot of guys skip workouts. Mike Vrabel says he's not concerned, but should we be concerned that this team isn't quite as together as we've seen in the past couple of years?
We've certainly had a lot to talk about, haven't we? I'm not there yet, but because they haven't had any major distractions except for A.J. Brown being traded to Philadelphia. And while we wait to see what the production is like without A.J., the locker room, the practice field, it all seemed to be very business as usual this past week. And much of the other chatter should not be an issue by week 1. I say should not be, because we expect that Traylon Burks will be practicing by the end of next month. Jeffrey Simmons says he will be back by the end of next month. It can become a problem. But right now, John, it's just not a big deal. This team has a structure in place that has won a lot of football games. The defense is going to be great. Henry is back and he's healthy. Vrabel is the coach of the year. There are big questions that deserve to be asked about the makeup of this roster, but not distractions.
Yep, Jonathan makes a very good point there. We'll get right back to those guys in a couple minutes. But the positives of last week, well, you worry about Simmons, you worry about some of the off-field distractions. It's about Harold Landry, Bud Dupree, both looking good, being on the field. It's about Derrick Henry being back, looking good, being on the field. So what are the expectations for those guys? They didn't do the OTAs, but they're back now and ready to go. What are the expectations for them moving into 2022?
Jonathan Hutton rejoins us. Harold Landry gets paid like the Pro Bowl pass rusher he is, and Bud Dupree is now back and fully healthy from his knee injury. What is a realistic sack total for these two coming up this year?
Well, I only know what they've done recently. And what they've done recently, John, has been very good. What we saw from Bud Dupree at the end of last season, then Landry had the career year. If they bring consistent pressure from the start of the season, the way they finish, the sky is the limit for this group. They will be extremely dominant. And the young and athletic secondary will reap the benefits. I believe this defense is going to be very, very impressive. And that hinges on the two guys we're talking about, Landry and Dupree.
How about Derrick Henry? Look good on that right foot, and if possible, look a little bigger out there this week. If you're the Titans, how do you manage his workload considering he's coming off a major injury?
As much as we want to discuss managing his workload, John, I don't believe that the Tennessee Titans plan to use Derrick Henry any less than they did prior to his injury last October. And I don't think that his production will be any less than what we saw either, because there are so many other uncertainties on this offense. And when you keep in mind that Henry has not been rehabbing over the last 6 months, he's been in off-season training mode. That's key in all this. I think they rolled into week one knowing that they need King Henry now more than ever as the rest of the offense comes together. This is a defensive-led and run-based offense-led football team.
You can catch Jonathan Hutton back on Nashville radio with Outkick 360, 2 o'clock tomorrow on 94.9 The Fan.